Yo, what's good with everybody? Welcome back to another episode of From the Logo. It's your host with the most today. My name is Gifted, and I'm joined here today by ZZ to discuss some great NBA basketball. How you feeling, ZZ?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling good, brother. It's all good. How we living? Chat, what's good? Drop a W in the chat if y'all feeling good today.
Yeah, I can't complain. I just got off of work and I'm excited because we had a lot of fun hoops take place and whatnot. Make sure to tap into ZZ and myself. All of our links will be in the description
Yes, sir.
below. Um, there's so many places to start with this. I think the best way to get right into the show is to first off recap some of the games from last night. Obviously, the Lakers Kings game is going to be a very, very big talking point. So we'll talk about that next. But the Bulls Pacers game, I caught the tail end of this game last night. DeMar DeRozan was going crazy, so crazy
Mm-hmm.
that now he's the favorite for Clutch Player of the Year. Apparently he's over Steph now, which is interesting. And he was making big shots. I literally called the baseline game tire shot. I knew he was going to catch the ball and shoot that shot. It was crazy. Kobe White got hurt, but insane game and big win for the Bulls. What are your thoughts on
hmm
that?
Uh, I caught the tail end of it as well. I was watching the Warriors game, the Warriors Mavs game last night, but I got
Same.
like a couple notifications on my phone saying that DeMar was cooking or whatever, and Pascal Siakam had that block right before him.
Crazy
So
block.
I was shocked to see not only the block from Pascal, but the game winner from DeMar being drawn up just as simple as all of his game winners are, it seems like. Elbow jumper, he's got it. Fadeaway mid range, he's got it. Anything mid range, he's got it. So I think I saw two. He was like four. I think he's like 4 points behind Steph for clutch player of the year. Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Steph Curry is not clutch. Despite leading all scorers in clutch points, he's not clutch though. He is the worst clutch player in the entire league. Unfortunately for Steph,
Right.
even yeah. So whatever. But king of the fourth, all that for DeMar. Same old, same old. One of the most underappreciated players in the last, I guess, 10 years. Um, happy for him. Really happy for him.
Yeah, and big shot that he hit all season long with no Zach LaVine. The Bulls have kind of been in flux.
Yep.
Kobe White, as we talked about last show, has basically emerged as one of their premier players. I still believe that he's the future of this franchise. Thankfully, that injury isn't as bad as we thought it was.
Right.
Apparently, he'll be good to come back potentially on Saturday. So that was a great game to watch. If you haven't watched it, go tap into Pacers Bulls. But let's get to it, ZZ. Let's talk some hoops, man. The Lakers versus the Kings. Now, I have to open this by prefacing how big of a game this is. So, if you're not tapped in, should be tapped in. The Western
Right.
Conference is insane right now, where the seeds from basically 6 through 10 are 1 to 2 games away from each other. So every loss, especially when these teams are playing each other,
hmm
matters, and especially for Lakers Kings, who recently LA has began to go up away from the Warriors, but last night the Kings at home handled business, big threes, big threes. But as we all know, the marquee matchup that was talked about a lot was the Domantas Sabonis versus Anthony Davis matchup. They recently just played, and the Kings also won, where in the second quarter, they went from being like down 19 to up 19 by the time the game was over. Insane turnaround by the Kings. And for them to go into their home building and handle business again, it leaves fans questioning Anthony Davis, who has never beaten Domantas Sabonis in his NBA career. ZZ, what were your thoughts on the game?
Look, all right. So, like you mentioned, for me and Gifted being Warriors fans, right? We need the Lakers to lose. Like the Lakers losing makes our day if the Warriors lost too, right? So after the Warriors game last night, I was like, all right, well, now we got to sit back and see if the Sacramento Kings still got the Lakers numbers or not, right? So me looking at the game, knowing that Anthony Davis still has not beaten Sabonis in his career, that was one of the reasons why I feel like it was very important for us to watch to really see if we have some sort of context behind this, right? Anthony Davis went out there last night. Let me make sure I got the numbers right because I don't want to get them wrong. He dropped 22, 10, and 3, a steal and a block. shooting 7 of 18 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and 7 of 8 from the line. Sabonis, a triple-double, 17, 19 boards, 10 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 6 of 10 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. So, and then, of course, there was the play. There was the play from when Sabonis got the ball, and they're saying, oh, he threw an elbow, should have been an offensive foul, whatever. That's what half the comment section is saying. The other half is saying Anthony Davis is soft. So it's interesting. Anthony Davis, I sent this to the from the logo chat earlier.
Yep.
Anthony Davis is 0-12 against premier centers in the NBA this season. So there's a whole lot of context that you have to add into that as well. But we're talking about players like Joel Embiid. We're talking about centers like Jokic. We're talking about centers like even Rudy Gobert and Bam Adebayo, right? Anthony Davis is 0 for 12 against all of them this year, right? And so to me, when I look at the Lakers, it's almost eerily similar to the Celtics in the East, where I say for how good the Celtics are, they still have to prove that they can beat the Miami Heat, right?
Right.
For how good the Lakers are, if you want to call them good, the testament to their greatness is the Sacramento Kings. Because for some reason, Anthony Davis, when he's playing and when Sabonis is playing, the Lakers can't get the W. Sabonis is outplaying Anthony Davis on multiple ends. And this is an Anthony Davis that we're talking about last episode for depoy, versatile defender, MVP of the Lakers, played all of these games this year. All of that warranted, completely justifiable. The fact of the matter is, Sabonis is a guy that didn't make the All-Star team this year. And a lot of Kings fans were mad about that, including Big Ox. Shout out Big Ox. Last night, Sabonis bullied Anthony Davis all up and down the floor. This is an Anthony Davis that a lot of guys are looking at and saying, once again, depoy, MVP, yada, yada, yada. But he can't get it done against European centers. That's what I've seen. I don't know if Anthony Davis is just soft. I don't know if Euro players or EuroLeague players want to play, more aggressive when going up against them. I don't know. What I do know is Anthony Davis hasn't beaten Sabonis once in his NBA career. That's all that I have on that. It's interesting.
Is the AD soft label coming? I'm not gonna lie. Bro, it is the craziest thing I have seen. You know what? Lightning strike once is what it is, right?
Right.
Lightning strikes twice. You're kind of like, oh, okay, this is kind of odd. Lightning strikes 3 times. Yo, there's something that needs to be talked about because it is insane what's going on. If people saying AD's playing out of position, yada, 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 this ain't his natural position. Guess what? This isn't Sabonis' natural position either. Sabonis was a 4. And there's no excuse for Sabonis to be bodying the hell out of him the way he has been doing all year long. It's the craziest thing I have seen this season. And to all those people trying to give AD this cop-out, he's not playing his natural position. Shut up. Because Sabonis is not playing his natural position and he's bodying him every single time. This is crazy. I thought AD was about to have a crazy performance. But I was wrong. I should have bet on the other big.
You want to know what's crazy too? Is I ain't mean to cut you off, Dub, but what's crazy to me is last season, I remember I was talking to somebody on the show and we were talking about like consensus top 5 bigs in the league. And we were talking about how in previous years, the big man position, the 5 position, there was certain guys that were like at the top 3. Like, and you could, and over the years, it's become Jokic, Joel, but then off the top of your head, you automatically put Anthony Davis ahead of Domantas Sabonis every single time, right? Don't most NBA fans do that?
Yep.
Now you're going to put a man above a man that ain't never beat him in his career. That's crazy.
Bro, that's crazy. And with the people that love using oh man, Kobe beat this guy. How many times did Kobe beat Tim Duncan in the playoffs? How many times did that happen? Oh, we're going to talk about Sabonis and AD? No, because it's a nonsensical argument, and a lot of arguments like that are just ridiculous to me. I think sometimes there's just matchups that, just don't favor you, right? And I just think for some reason, I have no clue why either, but for some reason, Sabonis is just dog walking AD. Whenever AD matches up against Sabonis, just know he's about to get dog walked. The leash is coming on. He's about to take him outside, and go see all the neighbors and all the family members down the street, man. That's what's gonna happen.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. I was watching this game, and the things Sabonis was doing in terms of controlling the pace with boards, how many second chance threes the Kings got from Sabonis just taking the ball and trying to kick it back out. I think it gives Anthony Davis a problem mainly because Sabonis is stronger than Anthony Davis. He's more physically built for contact. His game is a lot more physical. And even last night, there are some plays where it's like, damn, he really fouled Anthony Davis. But because that's his play style, he might not have to get taxed for that all the time. I think for Anthony Davis, that gives him problems. Anthony Davis's strength always as a defender has been as a roamer type, a help side guy, right? A guy that sets the floor for your defense in that way, not a face-up head-to-head big. Because it's not just Sabonis, even Jokic, which obviously he's the best player. We know how good he is, but that type of post-up physicality, I feel like that does give Anthony Davis some problems. But for him to have never beaten Sabonis, I didn't even know that stat existed until the last Kings game. And that's what makes this game last night so interesting, because there was so much buildup because we just saw these teams play. We saw the Kings go on like a 52-13 run in the second quarter alone. So people really hyped up this game, especially because of the Western Conference seeding implications, with the Kings also being in that same play-in race. This was a must-win game, and the Kings at home did everything they needed to win. You know, Fox was very good. Monk popped in exactly when they needed him to. Keon Ellis, an undrafted guy, comes in killing the Lakers. But for Sabonis to finish with his triple-double, it was outstanding hoops. I don't get into the, oh, well, he's never beat him, so he should be better. Anthony Davis clears him respectfully, but the matchup, hey, that's a whole other thing.
But that's where it gets interesting to me, because it's like, I understand saying that Anthony Davis it clears Sabonis. Like, I get why everyone would say that, right? To me, though, when I look at this, I'm like, when you say the matchup thing, look, at the end of the day, if Anthony Davis and Sabonis are on the floor, from what I'm seeing, Sabonis is going to end up with the better game. So when you look now, think about this matchup thing: Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, right? For the most part, when they match up, Joel's giving Jokic work, right? For the most part,
every single time. My God, I love seeing it.
And when it happens, before the game happens, everybody is consensus, yeah, Jokic is better than Joel Embiid. Then when they match up, that is the game where Joel Embiid is like, no, get that out of here. You can't guard me. I can contain you. Same exact thing that's happening with Sabonis and Anthony Davis, to me, is where you have a situation where Anthony Davis, for the most part, is a consensus top 4 center in the league. Consensus better player than Sabonis. But if Sabonis and him are matching up and Sabonis is outplaying him, I have no choice but to factor that in, because that's just fair. That's just what it is. Anthony Davis is supposed to be better than Sabonis, but that I don't see that when they match up. Same thing with Nikola Jokic. And the difference with Nikola Jokic and Joel is, for the most part, nowadays we're seeing, Joel ducking Jokic, especially when we're talking about playing in Denver. Sabonis is giving Anthony this work in LA or in Sacramento. It doesn't matter. So for me, at the end of the day, if Anthony Davis is going to silence all of the haters, say they match up in the play-in matchup somehow, some way, right? That would be a statement game. That would, like, and I know it's a winner go home thing, whatever, but statement games matter. They matter a lot. When Joel dropped 47 on Jokic, that literally gave him the MVP. Am I right or am I right? Like from that point on, it was consensus. Yeah, okay, Joel's got it this year. So yeah, it's interesting, but it is what it is.
I would agree with you. I feel like matchups matter a lot to fans, and they see so much value in it. I just feel like the hardest part, especially about NBA basketball, is there's so many games that one game in the moment feels like, oh my God, like he's dominant. He clearly has to be better. But then because there's so many games, we get to see how this plays out for a full season. We get to see how these guys produce in the playoffs. And I just got to say, I'm disappointed in what Anthony Davis showed last night, specifically because how is it that Anthony Davis, who showed last year how good of a player he was in the playoffs with his defense when it mattered most in the playoffs, right? Getting those guys to a conference finals. How is it that he's struggling to keep Sabonis off of the glass? He doesn't have the same amount of physicality, but a player like Kevon Looney for a playoff series can make Sabonis look like he's weak. I feel like for me, I can't buy into this matchup just because I don't see Sabonis consistently dogging every center like this. I feel like for Anthony Davis, a lot of his game is going to translate better when you need it most than a DeMontis. The issue is these games right now that we're playing, they're essentially mini playoff games from the perspective that you don't want to be in the play-in. You do not want to be a 10-9 seed trying to win single elimination games to make the playoffs. So players obviously are going to go all out trying to win, but the avalanche that the Kings put on them just consistently with the three-point shooting, the rebounding, and Sabonis setting that tone with De'Aaron Fox, it's a problem. And I asked last year, like, what would a Lakers and Kings matchup look like? And I feel like the problem with the Lakers, is the fact that you have Austin Reeves and D'Lo who can be good offensive players. We saw what Austin Reeves did in that first half, but when it comes down to it, Austin Reeves and D'Lo are kind of weak defensively. And then Fox and the Kings can really eat off of that in bunches. So it was a great game for the Kings, though. Big shout out to them. That was a big win for them last night.
Yeah, for sure.
What's so funny? I think about, nobody talked about this. You know what happened against the Knicks versus Lakers? AD versus Hartenstein.
Oh,
did you guys see that game at all? Do you guys remember?
I watched parts of that.
You watched parts of that? You know what AD did?
What did he do?
A whopping 12 points on 33% from the field. 18 rebounds though, but Hartenstein had like 16 as well. So it was like, yeah, 18. Hartenstein had 15. They had 18 offensive rebounds altogether to the Lakers 3. Shout out to the European crew, man.
Yeah, for real.
They on the map right now. They're destroying one of the best American bigs in the league, man. Y'all killing them. You're killing them. So shout out to the European crew, bro. Y'all going crazy right now, my boy AD. Dang. It's sad, bro. It's sad to see it, man. You don't like seeing a guy like AD, man, get torched like that, man. But he's just getting cooked. It's sad. It's not even guilty night. It's not box score. He's getting, bro.
It's not box score. If you're just watching the game,
if you're watching the game, he's getting cooked.
Bro, he's getting a leash. They having the leash, the collar. They putting that thing on and they walking him across the neighborhood and seeing everybody and their family, bro. That's exactly what's going on. And it's crazy to me. It's so crazy. Sad to see. That's not my DPOY.
Nah, Dub is hilarious. Who's the DPOY now, Dub?
Bam Adebayo.
I knew you was gonna give it to Bam. Who AD killed, by the way. But yeah.
Hey. We don't gotta talk about that. The AD get killed by Sabonis.
I give you that.
Bam. Wait, the Bam was getting killed by Sabonis. Bam was cooking Sabonis. Bam cooking Sabonis.
I give you that.
So, I don't know what's going on with AD, and that's the weird thing, right? You have a guy like Bam Adebayo giving work to Sabonis, like almost every time they play each other. Why is AD just getting bamboozled?
Somebody saw. And I don't know who it is.
No, but it doesn't make sense because Bam works Sabonis, AD works Bam, but Sabonis works AD.
It's like a love triangle.
Yeah, like
look, it's the craziest thing.
Yeah, shoot, but hey,
why are you disrespecting Kevin Durant?
Huh?
Are you ready to get into that?
Like, why? Like, I didn't even know that this was the title until now. You are disgusting, sir.
I'm disgusting.
Yes, you guys are absolutely disgusting.
Okay, so listen. We're gonna get right to it, right? So as y'all can see, this title, which I've seen in the chat, a lot of people are taken aback by the title. They're saying, "Oh, the narrative talks are back." So far, for all of our episodes, we give you great basketball content, but today we are recapping an event that happened on the Draymond Green Show podcast, where Draymond had Isaiah Thomas on, and they were basically having conversations about the Golden State Warriors and their legacy. There was a brief sound clip where Isaiah Thomas said when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors, it helped cement their legacy. And he spoke on if KD didn't go there, he believes that their legacy will looked at as different. So in your minds, which I'll ask Dub first, I'll let you lead with this, Dub, first. Do you believe Kevin Durant saved Golden State's legacy?
This is easy. number one for the title about overrated. It seems as if Kevin Durant is getting like underrated now. Nobody really likes him or what he's done. So like Kevin Durant and the NBA media and the NBA masses of people not respecting what he's done, it just seems as if he's being anything but overrated. He's actually being underrated. Now, in terms of him going to Golden State, I mean, yes, Kevin Durant saved and helped the Warriors' legacy tremendously. Same way how Kobe helped Shaq's legacy, same way how Shaq helped Kobe's legacy, same way how Paul helped Kobe's legacy, same way how D Wade helped LeBron's legacy and LeBron helped D Wade's legacy, same way how Magic helped Kareem's legacy. Like this is just something that everyone does, right? Now, I don't understand why people are so up in arms about it because he said something that's just blatantly true. It's just a blatant fact. I mean, every great player, everybody who's having a dynasty, they need somebody to sit here and put them over the edge, and they need somebody to lean on. And that could be a second option, a third option, a coach, second fiddle. You know, Kevin Durant and what he did for the Warriors, 4 is greater than 2. 4 is far greater than 2. And KD being there and allowing them to now have 4 rings instead of the 2 rings they got in 2015 and 2022. Bro, the whole narrative and the whole talks about Steph and Clay and Draymond, it would drastically be affected if they didn't win that back-to-back. And similar to how anybody, you know, if Kobe didn't win his back-to-back, he's not going to be talked about in the same light. LeBron winning his back-to-back Miami, he's not going to be talked about in the same light. Yeah. So Isaiah Thomas is saying something that's just a fact. It's literally just a fact. So I don't understand why people are upset about that.
So Dub says it's just a fact. ZZ, what are your thoughts on Isaiah Thomas's comments?
To be honest with you, like I'm kind of in agreement with Dub in terms of like I don't see why everybody was so upset about it. Like, and Isaiah wasn't being disrespectful when he said it, and I don't think Draymond felt disrespected either because, like Dub said, like when you just look at it objectively, Isaiah's right. You know what I'm saying? But you can point to a lot of other teams and a lot of other players where you can apply the same logic to at the end of the day. For me, and another thing to Dub's point. Wait, I'm gonna pull this comment up. Without KD, they don't beat LeBron. 2015. Oh wait, he didn't have Kyrie and they beat LeBron, right? The Warriors beat. So LeBron.
You're disgusting.
No.
You're disgusting.
This is the funniest thing about this whole thing to me. When people are talking about the Warriors and their legacy and their dynasty, right? It's always the argument has never been consistent. It just never has. You want to know why? Because people really, really wanted the Warriors to be an overrated dynasty. That's all it is. Because people will tell you this, right? This is how this logic is applied. The Warriors needed Kevin Durant to beat LeBron. 2015. Oh wait, LeBron didn't have Kyrie or Kevin Love. So LeBron was up 2-1 on a baby Warriors team, and then they beat him. So that would mean that they already beat LeBron, right? Or that would mean LeBron needed teammates to win, which both could be true statements, but you see where the consistency is getting a little, So then they point to, if Kevin Durant never went to Golden State, LeBron would have 6 rings. Where? Because if I'm not mistaken, Kyrie left the Cavs because he didn't want to be in LeBron's shadow. Right? Because the media was literally asking Kyrie Irving if LeBron was a father figure to him. So you mean to tell me that if Kevin Durant doesn't go to Golden State, Kyrie stays all like through 2017 through 2018?
Most likely, winning changes a lot. Winning changes a lot.
Okay.
If we're winning together, a lot of people would just sit here and just ride with it. But you never know with Kyrie.
Exactly. You never know with Kyrie because one of the other reasons that Kyrie left was to prove that he could win on his own. That did not happen. However, that was another striving force because he wanted to be the one option on a championship contending team. That was missing one.
You're missing one big point though.
What's that?
Kyrie Irving was also, and everyone was under the assumption that once LeBron's contract was out, he was dipping. And Kyrie, I remember he was like, bro, why am I just going to wait for you to leave? I might as well just leave now before you do. That's crazy to me. So that was also a big factor as well on why he left. So especially if, let's say if LeBron and them win back-to-back the years that Golden State won, right? Mm-hmm. Bro, not going to lie, LeBron's not really going to feel like leaving anymore because we're winning. We're up high and we're good. I got Kyrie. We're going to write this out. And Kyrie, even though he's having some of that criticism, I think Kyrie was more upset with them. I feel as if I think Kyrie was more upset with the fact, like, nah, I'm not gonna let this man dictate what I'm gonna be with this team. You know,
Right.
I'm gonna leave before he leaves me. Why the hell am I gonna wait for this? My dad told me all the time, if you know a girl gonna break up with you, break up with them first. Why am I gonna wait for the girl to break up with me? And that's what Kyrie ever did. I'm not gonna wait for you to break up with me. I'm gonna break up with you first. I'm up out of here, buddy. Thank you very much. I'm good. But the whole 2015 and 2016 thing, yo, I'm not gonna lie, you're wild right now for a little bit.
I ain't wild. We're gonna know. You want to know how I'm not wild? You want to know how I'm not wild? I'm gonna tell you right now because once again, if you say 2015 to somebody that says Steph Curry never needed Kevin Durant to beat LeBron, if you say 2015, they're gonna bring up the injuries to Kyrie. Now, if you say 2016 and you factor in Steph Curry being on one knee, Andrew Bogut losing Andrew Bogut in the series, Andre Iguodala's injuries, nobody's going to want to hear it because they blew a 3-1 lead, right? So if we're playing favorites for 2015 because guys either weren't there, then we go to 2016. Steph is on one knee. They lost their best interior defender in Andrew Bogut, and Andre Iguodala, the former Finals MVP, was hobbled with injuries. But we can't talk about that. Why? Because it doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to push. Another thing that annoys the hell out of me when I hear LeBron came back from 3-1. So these are the same fans that aren't even going to give Kyrie Irving the benefit of the doubt for dropping 40 alongside LeBron in Game 5 and hitting the game-winning shot in Game 7. So it's interesting how there never is any consistency in this whole the Warriors would never do this, or LeBron, they couldn't beat LeBron if he did this, all this BS. So that's the problem that I have. Another thing I want to get back to is specifically Kevin Durant, because I agree with Dub. Kevin Durant has gotten to a point where he's become underrated over the years since the decision that he had made on July 4th, 2016. It's to a point where, because if you look back at those years, people were hating on him so much because of a decision that he made with his career. And then it got to a point where Kevin Durant is in these situations with Brooklyn, and he's in these situations with the Suns, and he's getting bounced out the first round and yada, yada, yada. And it got to a point where people are starting to slander him more because, like you said, this is where the narrative talk comes in. KD can't win without Steph. KD hasn't done anything outside of Golden State. And what we've seen from me is, I look at that Brooklyn series against the Milwaukee Bucks. Kevin Durant had arguably the greatest Game 7 of all time. Arguably, right? 47, 47 double-digit rebound, yada, yada, yada. Kevin Durant was stupid. Lost because of his shoe size. So it's like and then a lot of people will also say, well, if his shoe was smaller, then the Nets are winning the championship in 2021. So it's interesting because I feel like people do not know how to properly rate Kevin Durant at this stage in his career. Either you're going to say he's overrated because, he only won with the Warriors and yada, 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 or he's underrated because everybody's shitting on him, knowing that he's a top 3 scorer of all time. So it's interesting. I think Kevin Durant's in this interesting boat where it's like, how do we really view him? For me, I'm like, bro, I don't give a damn what he did in the offseason in 2016. He's still a top 3 scorer of all time. He still had one of the greatest finals performances of all time in 2017. He won back-to-back finals MVPs. And in 10 years, people are going to literally start giving him flowers, I feel like, because once it's all said and done and he's retired and Braun's retired and Curry's retired and new players are coming in and they're trying to say, oh, this guy's better than Kevin Durant as a scorer. No, bro. He ain't put up 35 a game in the finals. What are we talking about? And it's going to get to a point where we are going to look at Kevin Durant. We're going to look back on his career and give him the flowers that we should have been giving him literally in the last 5 to 6 years. That's how
I want to go back to what you said earlier, because the comment when they talked about like the Warriors like winning, they were still like making the finals and like winning the finals as well, specifically like 2017 and 2016, right? So let's say 2016, 2015 happens. There are both some glaring issues, despite him losing his second and third best player for the whole entire series, not just some spurts. But we could just dismiss that. 2015, 2016, they kind of cancel out. 2017 and 2018, I think the biggest part, because to part of his question, where do they even make the finals? People are considering like, what team is KD going to in 2016?
True.
Is he staying with OKC? Is he going to the Spurs?
Right.
Is he going to go to the Boston Celtics?
The Washington Wizards?
Never that. But never that.
Yeah.
Never that. But what team is KD going to go to? And a team like that, let's say the Spurs, for example, Kawhi, KD, LaMarcus at that time, they're not making it out the finals at that time. That's a crazy stack crew. And on top of that, even in 2017, the fact that they lost in the way that they lost in 2016, I think it really like impacted that crew generally to the point where it's like, nah, because Draymond has talked about it. Golden State Warriors has talked about Clay, Steph. They've all talked about like, nah, bro, like we really can't beat this dude. Because in 2015, literally, they was pushed to 6 games by LeBron on his back. Then the next year, LeBron comes back from 3-1. And they're thinking about like, yo, like we can't beat this dude. So LeBron James, and even when they had that crew, LeBron's doing whatever the hell he wants on that crew. So in 2017 and 2018, nobody's checking him. Nobody's stopping him, you know? So LeBron James and the Cavs, bro, they have no answers for those two unstoppable forces in LeBron and Kyrie. And if KD's not there to cancel out what LeBron's able to do, I find it very hard for them to win.
So
very
here's my
hard.
thing. I'm gonna let you go for a second, but I'm just gonna say this one little thing.
Sure,
so,
go ahead.
The one thing that annoys me the most as the years go by and people look back on the 2016 finals, when you listen to the discourse of mostly LeBron fans, it would make it, if you were talking to a stranger, they would make it seem like you would think, if you're the stranger, that the Cavs swept the Warriors in 2016. Not that the Warriors lost by 1 possession with the injuries, with the hobbled Steph Curry. All of these things factor into play. So I find it hard to believe, because once again, this is all hypothetical. We don't know where Kevin Durant would go if he didn't leave Golden State. I find it hard to believe that if they ran it back, the Cavs, like the whole, they don't have an answer to stop LeBron. They can let LeBron cook and Kyrie. True.
I said Kyrie for a reason. Mars. You could put that thing down, Mars. I said Kyrie. You little yapper.
That's literally what I just said. He did not say Kyrie. But anyway, the point of the matter is, if you ask NBA fans, mostly LeBron fans, they will make it seem like the Cavs swept the Warriors or beat them in 5. They lost by a possession. The Warriors lost by a possession. So I find it hard to believe that seeing the Warriors win a championship with Harrison Barnes at small forward, Kevin Durant at small forward, then Andrew Wiggins years later, the Warriors system, and Steph is only going to get better and better as years go on, obviously. So I find it hard to believe that Warrior system doesn't win them another 1 to 2 championships in the next 6 years, but it is what it is.
No, because
I gotta say this here.
Last point, Gifted. Last point. Because let's not forget the Houston Rockets with that whole crew pushing the 7 with that same bomb squad of a crew.
Okay.
The Cleveland Cavaliers and what they're able to do. Listen, bro, at the end of the day, there was no answer. And this is something where Draymond has even talked about, expressing about Stephen Curry, especially in high pressure moments and especially in game time where they need him to sit here and get a bucket. It's something he struggles with. Cleveland, even though people talk about Curry being hurt, I mean, Cleveland was doing a phenomenal job of pushing him off his spots, over here switching on everything. Kyrie, Tristan Thompson over here rotating. That's something that Steph does struggle with. Houston Rockets was the same thing. All of them people was switching, running around, and being aggressive with that guy, which is something that kind of hindered them. And KD was there to sit here and give them a guy that, you know what, it doesn't matter how physical you are, I can get to my spots with and without y'all doing that. So I just think if KD's not there, even though that Golden State Warriors crew is great in their own right, especially with 2018 Rockets being there and with the 2017 Cavs being there, and how LeBron and Kyrie were playing crazy offensively. Like that was their best offensive season in 2017 throughout their whole entire tenure. I don't see them losing to them. I don't.
So a couple things. And before I get to my thoughts on this, I want to read out the $4.99 super chat from 2 cents. Appreciate 2 cents. KD needs to get more respect for his success with Russ. Not even Paul George, James Harden in Houston, or LeBron played as well with Russ. I do believe that Kevin Durant and Westbrook don't get enough credit in terms of how good they were. I've said this for a long time. That team in 2016 was a very, very, very good team. They just couldn't execute in spots, and the non-spacers kind of showed up. But I feel like if they had gotten past Golden State, there's a pretty good chance that they would have beat the Cavs and potentially won. So that squad does deserve credit. But let's get to my thoughts on this, right? So I didn't know what was going on. I watched the segment, and initially I was like, why is everyone upset? Then I understood what Isaiah Thomas was saying. So my thoughts on it is, Kevin Durant going to the Warriors it did change the legacy of what the Warriors would be, because the hatred and like the vitriol from them losing 3-1, like that still gets talked about, sure, but it got replaced immediately with, how are we going to beat this team with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson? How could KD join a 73-9 team? And that became the sole focus for the next upcoming season. But in terms of, did KD save the Warriors? My issue with that type of terminology is, we know what happened, right? KD went there. They won 2 titles in a row. They went to the finals 3 times after that. Obviously gives them 2 championships, and that really makes them like a true dynasty, right? But they won in 2015. They win 73 games. They go to the finals. They lose. In my opinion, I can't say Kevin Durant necessarily saved it, but he enhanced it more so. Because to me, what I fail to understand is, whenever 2016 gets brought up, people act as if it wasn't a competitive series. Like, they were up 3-1 in the series. Things happened to impact the series. LeBron James plays out of his mind. So does Kyrie. But ultimately, in Game 7, it's literally anyone's game. No one can make a shot for the majority of the fourth quarter. Kyrie hits the biggest shot in Game 7. Kevin Love gets a good stop. LeBron James, big block. All that is respect. But in my opinion, after watching it, it's like, damn, okay, they lost. We got to see part 3. I feel like most people were booking part 3 to be Golden State versus Cleveland. No one was saying outright, oh my God, this Warriors team, they can't make it back. Like, people were expecting a part 3 of it. And for a lot of people, they were actually upset at Kevin Durant for joining the Warriors, because now it's unfair. Now it's like, we can't see them have the part 3 where who's the better team. Y'all won here. It was no Kyrie. They won here. Steph wasn't healthy. Their best big defender who impacts the paint wasn't there as well in Game 7. There's things that didn't go, their ways for both back-to-back years. So in my opinion, I've said this, if the Cavs are fully healthy, I think they win the year before. If the Warriors are fully healthy, Draymond doesn't get suspended, they win that year. So to me, I'm like, bro, can we just see part 3?
How about 2017? I want to hear your opinion. Who do you think wins in 2017 without KD?
Tiebreaker.
See, that's the question I have. The roster construction with what was happening. Because remember, right, in that same finals for 2016, Harrison Barnes, a guy that was very, very solid for the Warriors, had one of his worst shooting series pretty much ever in his career. Festus Ezeli was playing a lot more minutes. Andrew Bogut was also on the back end. But at the same time, it depends on the additions that Golden State would have had and the health that they come back into the very next year. 2017 to me is really much a toss-up between those two teams. And what makes it like harder for me as well is, I still believe that 2017 Steph is the best version of Steph Curry we saw. And that version of Steph Curry was playing second fiddle with Kevin Durant to kind of get him, initiated to the team. Once they had that conversation after they lost on Christmas, they both started playing their games and they dominated throughout the entire playoffs. So I still feel like that's a toss-up. But to say that he saved it is almost like KD joined a ship that was sinking, that was showing signs of like not being nearly as dominant. Klay Thompson still looked great. Draymond Green still looked great. Steph Curry still looked great. It's not like KD joined a team where, okay, he's by far and away the best player on the team and he's carrying them to titles. That's not what happened. Kevin Durant joined the team and they became the most dominant team in basketball, one of the most dominant teams ever. And that to me more so speaks to the core and the blueprint that they had, and why adding Kevin Durant, who's a great off-ball player, who understands how to fit in the system, who now has the advantage to create with Steph and Klay as his spacers moving off the ball. Now he can dominate and do what he does best with his isolation scoring. That took him to a whole other level. So that's how I look at it, Dub.
Well, if we're going to talk about, use a ship analogy, this is basically what happened. The Titanic happened. They hit the iceberg. But this time in the iceberg, KD came in and closed the hatch that was leaking. People don't notice in the Titanic. You want to know why it sunk? Because the people that was on the Titanic, which is supposed to do when there's water seeping in, you're supposed to close the hatch so the water only goes into that one part.
Yeah.
Instead, they left the hatches open and it got into everywhere. And that's why it sunk. Literally, like terrible decisions about the Titanic. A lot of it could have been resolved. But if KD was the one to close the hatch, guess what? He saved the ship. That's what happened. So the Golden State Warriors, the Titanic, hit an iceberg. KD comes in and he closed the hatch. Is it something crazy? Was it something definitive? I don't think it was something crazy to do for him to just be there. But he definitely played a part in saving that ship and saving what that ship could have led to, which could have been a sunken ship. Because when I look at 2017, when you have LeBron and Kyrie playing the best basketball offensively that they have played together throughout their whole entire tenure, 2015, 2016, 2017 was both of their best offensive seasons together. I don't know how the hell, even though if they can make some other acquisitions, I still don't know how the hell they can sit here and capitalize on that. And let's not forget, even against the Golden State Warriors crew, they broke a record in the finals about 3-pointers made. So with the best shooting they've had, with the best offense that they've been playing, I can hear the point where they need to make some other acquisitions. That's fine. I don't think they can make enough acquisitions if it's not maybe if it's like a Paul George, maybe if it's a Kawhi. But I'm talking about other role-playing guys like of the Harrison Barnes level. I don't think they can make enough acquisitions like that to sit here and counteract what that 2017 team could do. Oh, and shout out Ace. Kevin Love was actually balling too. So that's why, and like I said before, we could use the save thing to so many people in NBA history. Scottie Pippen saving MJ, we could use that with everybody. Kobe saving Shaq, Shaq saving Kobe, D Wade saving Shaq and his legacy because he was able to win on Miami Heat. There's so many people in NBA history that has saved each other. Joe Dumars being on the Detroit Pistons for Isaiah Thomas, so he could be the main guy on ball guarding, and he could be a nice little secondary scorer to that crew. There's tons of people that has gotten saved by their teammates. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's whatever. It's cool with me. It doesn't matter to me. I think we live in a world where people save each other. Gifted. If you sit here and they're sinking shipping, and you're like, yo, Jake. I said, yo, Jake. Yo, Dub. I said, yo, Dub, come on this light boat with me, man. This boat's gonna be good. Cool. I hop on the boat. We there together. You let me to the right boat. You fall off the boat. You fall off the lifeboat, and I pick you up off the water. Hey, we saved each other, man. And I think that's what happened with Steph and KD. I think they've saved each other in my mind.
And see, like I hear that, right? I hear that. But the problem is when you say save someone's legacy, right? Someone that was already a champion before you,
that's the point,
got their legacy saved. And then someone who, after you left, and it looked like the dynasty was over.
It was over.
Won another championship. To me, I don't think saved is the right word. Enhanced for sure, right? Mm-hmm. Added dominance to for sure, right? Made like easily one of the best teams of all time for sure. But for me, what I'm thinking is saved, even in the examples you use, right, with Joe Dumars, Isaiah never won without Joe, right? He needed to have that player on the team to have success, right? Even with Scottie Pippen, right? Michael Jordan never won a championship without Scottie Pippen. So even if you're saying those two examples, okay, I hear that, because at least in those examples, we know that MJ, we know that Zeke, these players did not win without those other star players. Steph won without Kevin Durant before and after. And again, if you're speaking to how dominant the 2016 Golden State Warriors were, that was when Steph was fully unlocked. He didn't have to like find out how to play with anyone. It was Steph's team and they ran it as such and they were dominant in that way. I feel like considering how close that series was with how bad Harrison Barnes played, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say that Golden State could have absolutely re-upped and played that way, because we also seen multiple stretches that without Kevin Durant on the team, Golden State was still able to beat competition en route, right? Even the following year after, when they had no KD and they had to beat Houston in Game 5, and then in Game 6 with no Kevin Durant, then they sweep the Portland Trailblazers and go to the NBA Finals. I feel like there's enough context with the basketball history from what we know this Golden State team to be, but also what they were able to accomplish during the KD years with or without KD, the record that they had when KD didn't play. I feel like there's other things that play to suggest that maybe there's an alternate reality where KD doesn't join. Maybe they get one more. I feel like when you say saved, it's like I know for a fact without Kevin Durant, that this player or this team could not have had more success. I can't outright definitively say that.
I think
I got
Andrew
one question.
Wiggins saved them more than Kevin Durant did, but
That's disgusting, sir. That is disgusting. I got one question. They won in 2015 and 2016. Is that a dynasty?
If
Off 2 years?
Going back to back?
Off 2 years with a, what was that, 7-year gap. So a 7-year gap. So if the Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks win, they won in 2021. If they win in 2028, is that a dynasty?
If you win 2015 and 2016, you're saying, right?
No.
What?
I'm saying, because we're talking about the Warriors dynasty right here.
Yeah.
Would y'all really consider a dynasty if they just won in 2015 and they won in 2022?
If it was just those 2 years?
Yes.
No. I think the context of it really depends on the success that you had in between then. If you're still making NBA finals, but you didn't win, like, that's fine. I think, like, a perfect example of this would maybe be the Spurs, where it's like
Spurs, yep.
They never won back-to-back, but they won in between, and they still had a ton of team success.
The thing with the Spurs, it was like probably like a 4-year stretch where there was like 3 titles, or 3 or 4 years, right? Or 5 years, right? Where they won like 3 titles. The Golden State Warriors, literally, it's 2015, and then taking 7 years for y'all to win another one, right? Now, I hear the point where it was like, we don't know what they can do. We know they can do this. Yes, but at the same time, especially with how much talent there was in the league and amassing with LeBron and Kyrie and the Houston Rockets, and domino effect. If Kawhi stays healthy and that 2017 Spurs crew is healthy, like, that's a lot of teams that they're going to have to go up against, So the way I look at it is, and if you want to say not definitively because we never know what could happen, I understand that point. But the fact of the matter is, just even if they won in 2015 and 2022 and nothing else in between, no one will consider it a dynasty.
But that's under that criteria, because you can say that, but then I can also say, okay, what if they do win? What if they show that, okay, they lost this time?
That's why I said I can understand you not saying definitively, but I'm going off of my personal opinion of the talent that there was in the league. And if I'm going off of, especially, we're also not considering the team that Kevin Durant can go to as well, which can keep that Golden State Warriors crew from winning as well. There's a lot of holes that they're going to have to overcome.
Or, right, just like you said, if Kevin Durant goes out east, right, makes the team into a real contender,
Celtics,
maybe, right? Like
that can happen. So there could be teams.
We just don't know.
You're right. There could be teams where Kevin Durant. So I'm going off of the assumption of KD not being there, and I'm trying to account for the totality of the talent that there are in the league, and going, you know what? I know for a fact they won 2 without KD in a 7-year time frame. And since I cannot sit here and definitively say they're going to win or lose within that time frame, the only point I do know is that they won before and after them. And they are not a dynasty if they only won 2 chips 7 years apart. No one's a dynasty when you're winning chips 7 years apart.
But that's not the conversation, because if Isaiah Thomas is saying, right, Kevin Durant saved their legacy, what he's referring to is Kevin Durant going to the team and establishing what that dynasty is, right? Yes. What I'm saying is Kevin Durant going to the team enhanced what they were, but you can't definitively say he saved their dynasty if they weren't
a dynasty before him. They weren't a dynasty before him.
They were on their way. We don't know. Is my point.
But my point is they weren't one before him. They became one with him. They became one because he came there to make that team a dynasty. Without him, like you said, there's no definitive way to say yes or no.
Right.
So we have to be real with that, especially with the league. So Kevin Durant stamped them and made it no, it's not up in the air. This team is a dynasty because I came here to make that team a dynasty. It's not up in the air. It's not up in the blue moon. I came and I made this team a dynasty. That's what he did. And without him, if you want to say maybe they could be, sure, but without him, it's not a high chance. It's not a high probability that they are definitively a dynasty.
But that's the part of what he said that I agree with, though, because he said that it will look different. My only point on this is, if you're saying that he saved their dynasty like outright, what that's implying is that they could not win without Kevin Durant. They were at their tail ends. If KD doesn't go there, you're not able to win. That's the assumption that's making.
I don't think that. I think it's just a fact. Like, let's say let's say you gifted, let's say you hurt your elbow, right? Even though you hurt your elbow and you probably heal it on later on, if I come in my way to do some extra stuff to heal your elbow, guess what? I healed it. I impacted it. I saved that elbow. Even though it could have healed itself on its own, I saved your elbow. I mean, I helped you as much as I possibly could. You know, that's just what I did.
But
and
saving an elbow versus saving a legacy are two different.
That's why it's an analogy. It's not supposed to be the same thing. It's an analogy for a reason. But that's why I understand the point that Zeke is making. Zeke is basically just saying KD came in, solidified that team to be a legacy. And that team's a legacy because of who KD was and what he did to bring his talents to that crew to solidify them. The way like LeBron James in Miami. He saved Miami and D-Wade's dynasty. I mean, D-Wade's legacy. That's what he did. I could be mad at it all I want. And maybe they could have made some things going in the offseason and kind of have Chris Bosh get Melo on. They could have done other things. They could have done it. But LeBron, at the end of the day, LeBron came and he made it he made it what it was. He saved a lot of people's legacies in that way.
Okay,
I can't deny that.
You can also say that D Wade saved Bron's legacy because Wade had already been an established champion prior to. LeBron was in search of his first one. Minus on top of the fact that even in 2011, like if the 2011, like this is why I say the 2011 final series was probably the best thing that ever happened to LeBron. Probably his best loss of his career because it took for D Wade to be like, hey, yo, look, you're the best player on this team. Forget the noise, forget the confusion. You're the guy. After that, LeBron went stupid. LeBron turned into the villain and started cooking and won back and all that stuff, right? So when I look at this, right, and another thing that I wanted to point to, I've been trying to get this off, is
go ahead.
Somebody just made a comment and said that people are seriously trying to overrate the Warriors. That's all it is at the end of the day. Because from what I've seen from this Warriors dynasty is in 2015 or maybe 2014, when the Warriors were first starting to get into this three-point revolution, Charles Barkley goes on NBA on TNT and says 3-point shooting teams can't win championships. So off rip, the masses are saying, yeah, your play style may be new and innovative, but it isn't going to be good enough to win a championship. Factor in the 2015 second round against the Memphis Grizzlies when the Warriors go down 2-1, and commentators are saying, yeah, well, this grit and grind defense is really holding the Warriors. They've been punched in the mouth. That 3-point shooting, and then they went. Griffith's point about Kevin Durant, when he came to the team, and the win-loss record with Steph on the floor and KD off the floor, and KD on the floor and Steph off the floor, that's another thing that I can point to. Even in the Portland series in 2019 in the Western Conference Finals, Kevin Durant is out. The Trailblazers are up 17 points in 3 out of the 4 games, if I'm not mistaken, and blow a lead. So at the end of the day, when we're going into the series, it's Dame and CJ versus Steph and Clay. Mind you, that Warriors team in 2019 had the worst depth of the dynasty from 2017 to then. They had the worst depth. They were having Jordan Bell go out there and do something crazy. But at the end of the day, when the Warriors are facing adversity, they have come out on top more times than not throughout the run of this dynasty. You can point to Portland. You can point to Houston in 2019. You can point to Houston in 2018. So at the end of the day, I feel like, yes, what's his name?
Didn't they lose to Toronto?
Right. They did lose to Toronto. I'm saying, but I'm saying in the moment of a situation like the Western Conference in the playoffs, where you're talking about all of these teams that could possibly beat the Warriors, I'm not really seeing that.
Let's be real, though.
My
bad.
What?
Did anyone think Portland was going to beat the Golden State Warriors even without KD or Steph?
I didn't.
No one thought. Like, I don't know why people use Portland like they're such great
because they were up 17 points. It's not like the Warriors were out there thumping them by 30 every night. They had to physically come back to get all of the games.
The way I look at it, that's trash defense. If Steph or KD's there or not there, they're beating them in my mind.
I mean, but then Dub, that's fine. Then we don't have to bring up Portland. The games I bring up before Portland always are against Houston because I vividly remember the season James Harden was having, how dominant of a player he was. KD goes out in the middle of a playoff game, and Golden State comes back and they win the game.
I thought he got out in the fourth quarter. It was like 28. He played like 28 minutes or so.
That's in the middle of the game. That's
Okay,
go ahead. You're on the same page.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then in game 6 with no Kevin Durant, now it's like, okay, the guy that made them like this super team that was unbeatable isn't there. We saw Houston go 7 with them last year. They missed 27 straight threes. That was with Kevin Durant. Now KD isn't there at all. You have a game 6 at home. There were many people thinking, okay, Houston could probably win this, and we can see a 7-game series. Golden State has a chink in their armor now, and they won that game. And that's against a team that was literally built to rival what the Warriors were, right? So, like, my only point with all this is I think that it's subjective based on how you view Steph and KD, obviously, right? I think for a lot of players that changes. I just feel like Kevin Durant is what stamped them as this is the best team or arguably the best team of all time. I think going from that to they can't win without Kevin Durant. If he doesn't go there, they're kind of done. I think those are two uniquely different conversations. And to me, when I'm thinking about legacy, I'm thinking about, okay, if you're talking about saving their legacy, you're basically implying that, okay, Golden State could not have won another title in that span without Kevin Durant. To me, that's saving the legacy. Because then you're saying, okay, they won in 2015. They lost in 2016, up 3-1. Then they couldn't win again because they didn't sign KD. Okay, that makes sense. That tracks. But if you're saying that, I don't think that adds up when you look at the basketball context with everything else. And that's debatable.
I hear the point about the Houston Rockets, but at the same time, the way I look at it, maybe people are going to be mad at me. It is what it is.
You didn't believe in James Harden?
No, it wasn't that. I think James Harden CP3 was hurt. CP3 wasn't who he was. He wasn't as mobile because he was battling that. I think it was the hamstring injury from the year before.
So was Steph in 2016.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, using one game as a point to kind of like uplift Curry for one game against the Rockets crew, where even like it's the same point, right? They didn't have Trevor Ariza, where Trevor Ariza was a big part of that defense in 2018. I'm just looking at it like I hear it, but at the same time, it's like that Houston Rockets crew was a very worse crew than who they were before. In my mind,
wasn't the same Houston Rockets team for sure. I'm not saying it isn't, but
yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think the same gap that you're saying for Houston from last year, ideally, if you take away Kevin Durant from the Warriors, that should put you in somewhat close tiers, no?
You said what? Repeat that?
So, right. Okay. So, for instance, right, what you're saying is the Rockets team we saw in 2019 wasn't the same caliber team as they were in 2018.
Yeah.
Because of all the players that left, obviously Chris Paul's health and all that stuff.
And chemistry issues.
Yeah. I think that part can be fair, but where I stopped to not really, give much to that point is primarily because if you're taking Kevin Durant off of the Golden State Warriors, you're drastically changing the talent ceiling of the team because obviously they traded away pretty much all their depth to have a strong core in KD, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. So when you remove Kevin Durant from the equation, even if this Rockets team isn't as strong, you would think that they're somewhat overall comparable, right? You can still favor Golden State to win. That's fine. But the Rockets had a big chance to win once KD goes down in the series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the game was in reach. If I remember correctly, Golden State had a pretty good stretch in the fourth quarter that kind of sealed off the game. But my mind is like, if KD's on that crew besides Steph, I think the same thing happens. I think they win. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay.
So that's my point. Like with Steph or KD in that year right now, regardless on who's out, I think either one is winning. And even then, like, you still have Sean Livingston off the bench, who was pretty good. Andre Iguodala stepped up in KD's absence, which all greatly improved their defense. Where James Harden had a pretty weird game that game. James Harden in closeout games. We know what he does.
James Harden in closeout games is the greatest NBA player of all time.
But yeah, I and somebody's asking. I'm sure you had Houston winning game 5 and 6. I didn't have them winning. I wanted them to win mainly because I hated the Warriors. But I just knew the 2018 Rockets, especially losing Trevor Ariza and CP3 not being who he was. In my mind, I just knew they were never going to beat that crew, especially with the chemistry issues. So in my mind, even with KD being out, it doesn't move me as much as other people because in my mind, KD or Steph could have won without each other in that game. In my mind. But I could be wrong. I think I'm open. I think everybody's open for that, but that's just my mind. That's why it doesn't move me as much as other people.
Okay. Well, I will say this though. to Dub's bigger point, and he said this, I believe, 2 videos ago, like, that's why this year for KD is pretty important, because I say regardless of how people feel at the end of the day, if Kevin Durant is able to win a title outside of Golden State, I feel like to a lot of people, it will cement his legacy. I don't think he needs a title to do that. I know how good of a player KD is, but the conversations that he gets put in, it could maybe elevate the tier that he'll be at in those types of conversations. So I hear you on that.
Hell yeah, man. I'm rooting for the Suns, bro. I'm rooting for them. I need them to win. Because the KD narrative, woo, is going through the roof, baby.
Here's the thing too, because if Jalen was here, shout out Jalen if you're watching, love you, bro. We'll see you soon. But if Jalen was here, he'd be preaching to us about how KD's already better than Steph all time.
I think he's better, but we don't have to get into that debate.
I've been over this a billion times. Look, if you won before the guy and then after the guy, when the NBA fan base and the media said you wouldn't win another championship, sorry.
It's not about winning for me, though.
I'm sorry.
It's not about.
Kevin Durant's the better player, individual, in terms of build and whatever. But the greater player who had the greater career was Steph Curry. There's no unanimous.
Oh yeah, Steph is greater.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's. So I'll never say
KD's is better
Steph is better than Steph, right? I'll never say Steph is better than KD, but I will say Steph is greater. There's a difference. It's a difference, right?
I really want to revisit this convo with the better thing because
you think Steph is better, right?
I do.
Here we go. Let's go.
But for me, it's we don't have much time, so I'll just quickly say this piece. For me, I mainly look at, okay, what is your skill set towards a team? Can you build around that skill set to win? And then what is your performance against elite competition overall? And I feel like when you talk about Steph Curry and KD, if you bring up their playoffs, you go based off of their best performances and their worst performances. I think Steph is a better playoff performer than Kevin Durant. And I think that the year before KD went there, I feel like people just forget how good of a player Steph was in 16, that he was the best player in the NBA that season. And then when KD joined, it's like he was always better than Steph. Listen, it's a long conversation we can get back to some other time, but overall, those were Isaiah Thomas's comments. Chat, let us know if y'all agree or disagree with the crux of what Isaiah Thomas said, but we do have to get to someone else's legacy, and that's the Clippers, man. I'm sorry. Kawhi Leonard went out in the first quarter.
Lord,
this Clippers team has not looked the same as it was pre-All-Star break. Dub, are you getting concerned about the Los Angeles Clippers?
I never believed in them.
No.
But I think I want to read off some super chats before we get into this one right here, because I think this is going to be a good one. I think we have a few that we missed over. I want to make sure we get those guys started out. Let me get some off real quick. To be fair, the Cavs were shopping Kyrie behind his back, and that's a big reason why he left from Renji.
Yeah, he posted that when you were going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't say that name. Papau?
Yep.
Papo? Without KD, the Warriors might not beat LBJ. Without Steph, KD doesn't see another finals on that same team. Steph and KD saved each other. I definitely do agree. Well, I partially agree with that. 2 cents. KD needs. Did you read this one?
Yeah, I did.
Gifted? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there we go. And that's something to also understand. I'm not gonna lie. Playing next to Russ is extremely difficult to me. I'm not gonna lie. But we can talk about that a different day. We can talk about the Clippers, and he's on the Clippers right now. Yeah, bro. You know what it is for me, man? It's like the Clippers every single time. I look at them like this.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are so good. And I know how good you guys can be. Y'all have everything, well, mostly everything you need for a team to be successful. But do you have that killer in you, man? Do you have that dog? Do you have that grit? Do you have that grind? You being led by James Harden, being led by PG.
Mm-hmm.
They threw 3-1 leads before. I'm pretty sure not about James, but Kawhi and PG. It's like, let me not get into this one. I don't want to do that. That's a nasty narrative, Ben. But yeah, the Clippers to me is all it is the Clippers is the health is always my main concern, especially with Kawhi. and what he goes through. The consistency of Paul George, especially in postseason, is something that worries me, and James Harden. Now, James Harden is in a lesser role than he's been in his whole entire career, so that's something he can excel in, but we thought he was going to be fine last year after dropping 40, but then he only made 5 shots in the next 2 games. So who knows what James Harden is going to bring, Paul George, we've seen him choke numerous times in the playoffs. That's something we have to see. Even though Kawhi Leonard went on a crazy run in the Sun series, the 1.5 game, do y'all really think Lightning's going to strike like 3 times and him being older? I don't know. I'm not sure. But they do have the tools. They do have the talents to be successful. And I'm not really a fan of, this team's struggling in the regular season right now. So, we got to worry about them. In the month of March, if you really look at it, the teams that's won it, Golden State Warriors, I've actually looked for like the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021. The month of March, like, I'm not going to lie, like they go on some losing streaks. It's crazy. Yeah. Like they go on some losing streaks. They start losing games. I guess kind of like the season fatigue. You're getting ready for the playoffs. You're not really playing each game. You're already solidified, not playing each game with as same level of intensity. So anything that happens from here on out, I'm not gonna lie, Gifted, I don't care about. I pay attention to it. Okay. I'll hear it. But anything that happens, I think every team is already solidified. I think we know every team and what they can do. I think every team is just getting geared to the postseason right now. I just think this is just a time to just get some reps up, trying to fine tune some other things. But this Clippers team right now, I'm not going to lie, I just think they're just getting ready for the postseason. If they go on a losing streak right now, I don't think they're going to think twice about it. I think it is what it is for them,
Okay, Dub, interesting take there. ZZ, do you mirror Dub's thoughts on the Clippers? Are you concerned?
If the Clippers don't have Kawhi in the postseason, they're not making the conference finals. It's that simple. The only thing that I do mirror from what Dub said is about the James Harden point, which I brought up a couple episodes ago. Harden is in a situation where he is being, when he got drafted there, he was wrapped in or had a shield in front of him made up of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. That way, if they, when they get to the postseason and if Kawhi, is healthy and they go on, which I'm hoping Kawhi is healthy, but the Clippers don't go far unless Kawhi Leonard is leading them. If James Harden has to go out there, now if Kawhi's off the floor and he's not playing in the postseason, that means PG goes to the number 1 option, Harden goes to the number 2 option. We've seen James Harden in the last 2 years as the number 2 option shit the bed in games 5 through 7 of a 7-game series. So the way I see it is like the Clippers are in a situation where they've in recent weeks they've been struggling. They haven't been as dominant as they were maybe a month and a half ago, to the point where the league is looking at them like, oh shit, they making noise, bro. Harden said he was a system and all that, looking like it's coming true right now. But now they're at a point where if Kawhi is not there, bro, I don't like their chances. I don't care. Kawhi Leonard is one of the greatest playoff performers in the last 10 years, right? This is a guy that when he's healthy, can go on tears of looking virtually unstoppable. 2019 Kawhi Leonard is still the greatest Kawhi Leonard I think I've ever seen. Bro looked genuinely unstoppable. And he was on a one-night stand type of deal with the Toronto Raptors, right? So, and then you point to 2021 when he blew his knee out right before the Western Conference Finals. He was looking unstoppable. He got them to the conference finals. And without him, they did not go to the NBA Finals. So, for me, like I said, they are in a situation where I hope that everything's good with Kawhi personally. Like he walked off, he didn't look like it was going to be like too serious of an injury, but with Kawhi, you never really know. So, like I said, if he comes back, they could be straight, but without him, nah, they're done. They're cooked.
Okay. Well, I got to be honest with you, Dub. I mirror a lot of what you said. The only thing that differs for me is I would have this energy and logic for every team if it wasn't the Clippers. Because of the Clippers, I'm concerned. And the reason why is we've seen year after year after year with the Clippers, when it gets down to postseason time, the injuries pile up. And specifically to see Kawhi Leonard in the middle of a regular season game have to leave the game due to a injury issue that he was having and not being cleared to play for the rest of that game, I'm concerned, and a lot of it is because of the responsibility that's been placed on Kawhi's shoulders, right? Paul George just had a leg injury not too long ago. Ever since that point, Paul George has not performed like the same Paul George we saw at the beginning of the season. Russ is out, right? They're a backup guy who's their spark plug, who gives them energy. He's not playing anymore, right? James Harden, for them, he's been an Iron Man. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's like top 5, I'm pretty sure, in the NBA in minutes played right now. And that's what they're doing against all of these teams. And just from a play style standpoint, they want to get as healthy as possible, right? So for March, I can understand, teams thinking, okay, we got this, it's fine, it's locked up, and they're going through the motions. But the problem is you're the Clippers, who have injury concerns. You need to prove that you can sustain play and be healthy. But B-Dub, this is the real thing. The Clippers aren't clinched yet. And I feel like the difference between a team like the Clippers and a team like last year, Denver, who was losing all these games at the end, Denver had already clinched the 1 seed. So no matter what happened, no matter what games they lost, they could lose to the Raptors, the Pistons, the Pelicans, Spurs, whoever, they were going to be the 1 seed. The Clippers are 2.5 games away from being in the play-in. So, they need to win these games. These games do matter. Teams are playing them as if it matters. And for you to not be playing your best basketball closer to the playoffs for a team like that, is in year 1 of the James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard experiment, that takes away from the chemistry, that takes away from the injuries, and it takes away from how good you can be. So for me, I am kind of worried because I already didn't have much faith in this team because they don't really have the size. They don't really have the depth to have shooters like that. Zubac and Plumlee can't play more than 30 minutes in a given playoff series. So to see everything ramping up right now, for me, it really makes me concerned for the title hopes, especially if there's no Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi gets impacted just like he did last year, where he was dominant for those 2 games but doesn't play, they're done.
I feel that.
I hear you, and I love everything you said. Because one of the points you talked about, them taking games off, and you kind of saw my point with there. Then you talk about them taking games off and everything, and that's a bad sign. Yeah, arrogance, man. And that's why I don't believe it. They think too of Adams themselves, and then when the postseason comes, they're gonna fall apart. It works hand in hand, The Clippers, they scare me, man. I don't want to hate on Russ.
Oh,
really
God.
Don't. But
I think you do.
No, because I love Russ and I hate 2017 Russ was one of my favorite players to watch ever in my life. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. Bro, I don't think you can win with this guy, bro.
God,
I don't.
Okay.
Don't. He just it's really because he's a downhill player that doesn't stretch the floor.
Right.
Makes some bad decisions a lot of the times. Plays too high powered and fidgety, bro. And I'm like, Russ, if you could just relax and tone it down, I think you can sit here and be great. But I just, he had PG, he had KD, he had James Harden, he had so many players, and he was never able to get it done. It's crazy to me. Maybe right now they could make it work out. But I'm talking about more like prime and peak Russ. Bro, and I don't want to hate on him. I love Russ.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. And Russ, we trust, except if it's the playoffs. I gotta be
objective here, bro. Yeah, go ahead. I don't even want to say it.
Damn. And the only reason I'm gonna ask you this question is because it's been like when
he about to violate
my heart, bro.
I think he's easy about to violate, chat.
I'm gonna flat out ask the question. I'm gonna flat out ask the question. So, Doug, take the Clippers. Matter of fact, take any team. Matter of fact, take your Heat. If the Heat had an option, and you were the GM, right? You have 2 players presented towards you.
Don't say it.
You have Russell Westbrook,
and his peak.
No. I'm talking about Russ. Post. I say 2019, post 2019 Russ, and post 2019 Chris Paul. Who are you taking for the Heat?
Chris Paul.
Gifted.
It would be Chris Paul. He fits better.
So here's my thing. I say that to say this. When I was back in like 8th grade and Russ was at like his physical athletic peak, right? I loved watching Russ. Russ was literally like a top 3 favorite point guard of mine, right? And I said to myself back then, I was like, yo, Russ is so damn athletic, right? When he loses this athleticism, what type of player is he gonna end up being? Then we get to the Lakers, right? And the Lakers, I'll say he just wasn't a good fit. I said that from the moment that they traded for him.
That is true.
I was like,
Okay.
anybody that has the Lakers projected to win the championship, which they did, so you're stupid. I was like Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, no. But if it was Chris Paul, maybe. That's a different playing field. With Russ, it's like it was to a point where he was such a bad fit that they had Russ as a catch and shoot option. Russ should never be a catch and shoot option, especially from 3. Like, that's just how I look at it. Russ can still be impactful. That's why I still love him, right? I thought that the slander that he got when he was playing for the Lakers, I was like, all right, this is getting a little bit too much, because at the end of the day, he doesn't fit. That doesn't make him a bad player. He's just not a good fit for this team. That doesn't make him a bad player. He's regressing with his athleticism and things like that. But to act like Russell Westbrook can't impact the team anymore, or people are making assumptions that Russell's going to be in the league. I'm like, yo, what are we doing? Like, now we're just now we're flat out disrespecting him. Like to say that. Go ahead, Gifty, you're muted, bro.
Hilarious. I will point out one thing about Russ that I do think is kind of fair, because Dub, I understand why you question can you win with Russ, because obviously he has very erratic decision making. He's a non-spacer, so teams don't respect him at all, which makes it harder for Kawhi and Paul George to operate. But when push came to shove last year in the playoffs, when Kawhi went down, and even when he was there, Russ's defense on Devin Booker was.
Let me say this, please.
His defense on KD was good too.
But that's the thing. If Russ is allowed to just do whatever and be Russ, he's going to give you great performances. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. I think if Russ, with Kawhi being out, and yes, his defense was amazing too. Like, and not a lot of people talk about that.
I was very surprised by that.
Hell yeah. But if Russ is allowed to just be who he is, he's crazy. Like, he's a cheat code. But there's some people who's better on their own team than a structured team. Yeah, and I really believe that's who Russell Westbrook is.
Okay,
I think he's just a guy that is perfect on being on his own squad. You're going to see that best version of Russ, but being on a team with structure, that's difficult. And to talk about Russell's defense, I remember me saying this for a long time, bro. I was caping for Russell Westbrook's defense for a very long time. I used to tell people all the time, just because you're not playing it don't mean you can't play defense.
Always had the tools to do it.
Yeah. Russ always had the capabilities of being a good defender. The man just didn't try sometimes. You feel me? When he was averaging triple-double, this is what he was doing to guard up.
Oh, my God.
Bro, let me get the
Forgot
board.
about the chair. That's funny.
Let me get the board. That's what he'll do. He'll look somebody low. Let me go grab this board real quick. So to me, it's bad defense, but it's not like he's not a capable defender. He just wasn't trying. Now I'm just like, damn, Russ. Like, and I hate the way that people come with these opinions, because you're like, Russ don't play defense like that. He's a cone. Yeah, if you ever thought Russ was a cone like that, you're stupid to me.
Yeah.
Like,
now,
you really are.
Here's the thing with Russ. It's like, I agree with Dub 100% on the capable part. People were acting like he wasn't capable. The only issue with Russ's defense that became a glaring issue was just like his awareness in situations. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, his awareness off the ball. That would be a question. Because it was like, okay, is he locked in on the defender, or is he locked in on tracking the ball so he can get a rebound?
A guard or off-ball shooting was a problem for Russ.
That's always been like
was it a problem? He just didn't care.
He just didn't care.
He wanted to get no boards.
Yeah,
he wanted to steal.
Like, at the end of the day, when you look at that box score, you ain't gonna be saying he ain't playing no defense. You're gonna be saying, damn, he had 12 boards, damn, 10 assists. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's you got to pick and choose your battles when it comes to Russ. But I will say, the slander got out of control. It's to a point where he's on a different team. And I also would say this too. Back when he was playing with the Lakers, I was like, dude, before when he was starting games and out there in lineups with Rajon Rondo for some reason, but whatever.
Yeah, they had a bad roster, man.
Yeah, God.
They had a terrible roster. Half of those guys are not in the league anymore.
I'm saying, I'm like, yo, like y'all are really just like it's almost like the coach is just setting Russ up to look like shit. And I'm like, and then they scapegoat him and stuff like that. But I was saying, if Russ is coming off the bench and if he's a spark plug off the bench, if you limit the minutes that he has on the court at the same time as LeBron James, who was ball dominant, then he might be able to thrive. He played better when he came off the bench. He goes to a team in the Los Angeles Clippers where you look at him and you say, okay, he's coming off the bench to lead that second unit. You give him a Norman Powell, you're good to go. As long as Kawhi's there, then the team is looking fairly structured, especially when you start talking about postseason runs and stuff like that. So back to the point about the Clippers, Kawhi not being there, it's not going to be a good look for everybody else. This is basically what we're saying is it's up to Paul George, which I'm not going to hate on Paul George, but you know, it's different.
I'm gonna be real with you, ZZ. I'm gonna be so real, right? Dub didn't want to say what he said about Westbrook. I want to say this about Paul George.
Here we go.
Paul George is a very good basketball player, hypothetically, because the idea of Paul George has been something that a lot of people have fell in love with. But in terms of his production overall, it's had multiple times where it's come into question. Multiple years where he's been in the postseason and he's underperformed. Now, the last time he was there, I do give him credit. Once Kawhi went down, he started to play at a much higher level. But overall, in terms of what you can expect to get from Paul George, it was a question mark. I understand during the OKC runs, he was hurt, but it was tough to watch them play that Jazz team when in the closeout game he goes 2 for 16 and there's nothing there,
God.
right?
Yeah, this is what Joe Ingles did. He said, "Sit here, buddy." Sit right here on my lap. Let me get you right here, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now he's in a spot where again he's coming off of a leg injury. He's been playing some very bad basketball for his standards as of late. He's not shooting effectively, but more than anything, he's not getting to the rim. And for this Clippers team, people often misunderstand the point of going small. The point of going small is to maximize your offense by having your ball handlers be able to play in space. So they use that space to get to the rim and either score or create shots for others. But when you have Paul George and Kawhi not really doing that and more so taking their perimeter shots, which they can make those shots, but the variance of that for a series, you don't want to put your money on, right? A good reason why Bron is so good is because he mainly dominates the paint, but he can score from all three levels and he can dominate a defense with his playmaking and his decision-making. The decision-making of the Clippers is kind of questionable, especially if James Harden has an athlete defender on him, because now Harden cannot generate the quality looks that he's been doing all season long in those types of spots. So there's a question mark on the Clippers because of that, Dub. It truly is.
If you've seen it, if you was paying attention, anytime you bring up a player, I'll reenact them. LeBron moving people out the way. James Harden just doing the spam dribbling.
Spam dribble, yeah.
That's just what he do. PG. And you're right. It's odd to me. And it pisses me off. And that's like the difference between him and Jimmy Butler for me. And that's why I think it has something to do with mentality. Because Jimmy will just be a guy, screw it. You know what I'm going to do?
I'll do whatever.
I'm going to still try to run through you and get there. PG, because he has so much, sometimes he'll just lean on it. I'm not going to sit here and just drive and take the contact to the rim. I'm going to do a spin, fade. I'm going to do a pull-up, Jay. I'm going to do a sidestep 3. And it's like you said, if you're over here, let's say they go up against the Nuggets and they're trying to have small ball, you have to go at Jokic. You have to. You have to. Yeah. You can't just sit here and just give him that because you're playing to what he wants you to go to. Everybody's fine with you. Everyone is more fine with you taking jump shots than getting to the rim, unless you're like Steph Curry. Yeah. Right? Everyone's just okay with that. I mean, nobody really wants to give that up, but that's what everyone preaches in basketball 1-on-1. Keep them from getting to the rim. So if you're taking jump shots, you're helping the defense out of it.
And that's why a player like Jimmy Butler is so impressive and no one talks about him. And I remember having these diehard debates telling people Jimmy Butler is a better player than Paul George. Yeah. Because while Paul George is more skilled than Jimmy Butler and has more natural talent, at the end of the day, Jimmy Butler will do whatever he needs to do. If it's rebounds, if it's get to the free throw line, if it's spam the paint consistently, his creation and decision-making is a lot better than Paul George in these moments.
Yeah.
And for Paul George, this is another player that has a lot to gain from this playoff run as well. Because if the Clippers win, it's in a reality where Kawhi Leonard is playing as if he's a top 5 player, and Paul George isn't too far behind, with James Harden getting them quality looks to maximize their skill sets. That's the question with the Clippers.
Yeah, and another thing too, like to that Jimmy Butler and Paul George comparison, because I saw that like yesterday. People were like, if you're saying that Jimmy's better than Paul George, you're a casual or whatever. So from what I've seen from these two players, I've seen Jimmy Butler take 2 Miami Heat teams to the finals, past teams that were better than his, past players that were viewed as better than him multiple times. Paul George, on the other hand, I cannot say that because Paul George has never been to an NBA Finals. So Paul George on paper may look like a better player than Jimmy Butler when you factor in like the Erykah Badu music and all that shit. But Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, doesn't need all of that flash and skill and between the legs and yada, yada. No, bro. Jimmy is going at necks, stomping on necks. It doesn't matter how many wins you have for your team. Jimmy Butler is looking at you and Eric Spoelstra is looking at you and they're like, dude, we can beat y'all. We got the answer. It is what it is. That right there. Jimmy doesn't care about aesthetic. He doesn't. Jimmy Butler wants to hoop at the end of the day. Jimmy Butler wants to win at the end of the day by any means necessary. Jimmy said the other day, if we're down 2, I'm going for 3. That's Jimmy Butler. Because at the end of the day, he's trying to pack niggas up and move on. That's what it is. Now, I understand, once again, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm disrespecting PG at all. The point of the matter is what Gifted pointed out. Like, when we start analyzing our favorite players or people that have been our favorite players over the years, like Damian Lillard, for example. I said Damian Lillard's postseason career is a glorified highlight package of 2 clips, 2 game winners. Sorry. Damian Lillard shooting worse than James Harden in the postseason for his career, and James Harden being labeled as a playoff choker the way that he is, just don't sit right with me. Damian Lillard shooting the same percentage as Russell Westbrook for his career from
oh my.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what it is. That's what Dub. I'm sorry.
I think he's gonna say it. But you know,
that's what it is.
That's
Russell
so
Westbrook and Dame shoot same from the field in the postseason. But Russell Westbrook is going, oh, he a choker. He's an NFL player.
That's hilarious.
But Dame gets held up here because he did knock out Russ and PG in the playoffs. Look, at the end of the day, go look at the box score and tell me how good of a postseason performer Damian Lillard is in comparison to these other guys.
I'm not gonna lie, the Dame convo is a whole other convo that we're gonna have to have someday.
No, we're gonna have it. We're gonna have it.
This is where I say, this is where I say, man, the disrespect for Dame just gets too much, man. Like
2018, Drew Holiday outplayed Damian Lillard in the first round.
No. We're gonna save this. We're gonna save this Dame conversation for another episode. Clearly,
and it's always Dame. Why is it always Dame? Like, people just love hopping on his case. Like, it's always him. It's never someone else. Always Dame.
I really want to hear what Dub has to say. We'll definitely delay this topic to another episode, but we're officially at the end of From the Logo. Make sure to leave a like. Shout out to everyone that tuned in to the stream today. Very fun conversations. Dub, appreciate your perspective. ZZ, also appreciate your perspective. Let the people know where they can find you guys.
Y'all know me.
Y'all know Dub. Dub a OG vet. You can find ZZ Huncho on TikTok at ZZ Huncho. You can find me on Instagram, ZZ_Huncho. Just look up ZZ Huncho. You probably are going to find me. This was a great show, though. Dub, finish us off. Pause.
Y'all be easy. Salute to y'all. I don't know what else to say. Y'all,
and by the way, guys, Kevin Durant is not overrated. None of us called Kevin Durant overrated. All right.
Gifted. He's twiddling between the lines, but it's okay. It's okay.
Hey, we respect KD.
Y'all know where to find me, Gifted Hoops. If KD comes up again, maybe you might hear some more perspective. But we'll head up out of here. See y'all Sunday for the next show at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time. Peace out, people. Have a good one.
Peace out, y'all.